Hi everyone, Pam here from Creative Homescaping. I am trying out going live, so I'm going to look at my iPad and see if I got a notification on my non public channel, and that way I'll be able to see your chats better if you join me. So hold on just a second. Okay. Hi Davita, hi Kim. Happy New Year to both of you. How are you both today? Well, that was fast. So I'm thought I might do the winter tag. Yes, it's my first live, Davita. So I'm doing this on my cell phone, and then I have my iPad set up so if I miss a comment, I can look down at my iPad and see what the comments were. Can you both hear me okay? Thank you. Have you gone live yet, Davita? I'm doing well, Kim. I'm happy because sometimes during the holidays, when my husband is off from teaching school, he gets sick and then I get sick, but not so far. Oh, well, you're up next then, Davita. Are you off today? Oh, great. That's great. I'm glad you can hear me. So that's good. Trying my I'm sitting at my desk in my family room, and so this is a little bit different background than you normally see. But I thought I would pop on, and in one of Lori's tags, Lori of Creative Lori, she tagged me and on the winter tag. So I thought I would see if I could figure out how to do a live and go through the winter tag questions. And then whoever was watching. Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I caught you at a good time then, Davita. So, looks like we have 4 people watching. Oh, thank you, Kim. When I first started filming, thank you, and I hope you have a good lunch and the rest of your day goes quickly for you, Davita. So when I first started filming videos, it was a little bit strange for me to look at the where the lens is. I knew where I was supposed to look, but I used to do stage stuff. Thank you. Bye. If you're dropping off. Um, so I used to do stage things when I was younger, and I was used to like either looking at the other people on stage or looking out at an audience. So looking at this little tiny thumbnail, not thumbnail, but little tiny spot on my phone is a little bit awkward. I'm used to it now for recording, but for the live, it still seems a little bit strange. But anyway, I thought I'd come on and do the winter tag that thanks to Vita, that Creative Lori had done because she tagged me while she was doing that live. And then I thought I would tell you my take on New Year's resolutions and goal planning. And then if we had any other chit chat, I would, uh, just play it by ear, see how many people were able to join. So I'll just jump in and do the winter tag. The winter tag is not related to any specific holiday. It's 10 questions having to do with just the winter season. So I am going to go through them. And then if you are watching this video, you are tagged. I'm not going to tag any specific person. So if y'all ready, here we go. And if you haven't watched Lori's video, you should head over to her channel. She did a live where she went through this tag as well. So I liked hearing her answers too. So here is the first question. Snowboard versus skiing. Well, I guess I'd have to say skiing because I have never been snowboarding. I have been skiing, but the problem with where I went skiing, which was in the local mountains here in Southern California, is there are a lot of snowboarders. And I was just a beginner, and the beginner hill is a combination of both the snowboarders and the beginning skiers. And the beginning snowboarders spend more time on the ground than they do standing up. And a lot of them fall down right in front of the skiers. So what I found was happening was I kept having to purposely fall down so that I wouldn't hit the snowboarders that were falling down in front of me because they would just come and they were out of control, be in front of you and then fall down in front of you. And if you didn't fall down on purpose, there was no way you were going to be able to stop skiing in time to be able to not run into them. And since I didn't want to get hurt and I didn't want them to get hurt, I would just sit down. So, thanks, Kim. So, but at the time I was having some knee and back problems and I was having to go up and down a lot. And I'm like, I don't think skiing is for me right now. So, but if I had to choose, I would definitely choose skiing because I did used to ice skate, and a lot of the maneuvers or concepts are very similar with edges and that sort of thing. So then the second question is snowman versus snow angel. Well, again, I've never actually made a snow angel. I have made snowmen, again in our local mountains. But when I was growing up, we didn't ever really go to the mountains. And I spent about half my time growing up in Southern California and half in Northern California. But we didn't live in the parts of California where it snowed. So you had to drive a couple hours to get to where the snow was. And we never did that in my family when I was growing up. So I never got to do either of them when I was young, but I did make some snowmen with my children when they were little. And there was one year when I lived in New York when I was in second grade. I moved from Southern California to New York because my father worked for government contractors and that's where they had sent him. And I was very excited because I thought, oh, I'll be living in New York. It will snow. I can build snowmen. I can experience all of that. Well, the year I was there, they never had one snowstorm that stuck as actual snow. I'm reading something. Oh, that's great. I'm glad you found my poinsettia video helpful. Thank you so much for commenting. I appreciate that. Um, so anyway, so I was very disappointed that one year I was in New York because I my mother had promised me that it would be okay and not that was one thing I could look forward to because I would get to build a snowman and all that was there was slush and ice and no snowman for me. So so thank thank you to tuning in to everybody who's on right now. Um, so the third question is hot chocolate versus hot cider. Well, I think I may have said this in one of my other videos, but I really like chocolate. To me, chocolate is one of the necessary food groups. So I definitely would choose hot chocolate over hot cider, although I do like both of them. The fourth question is knit gloves versus leather gloves. Well, I guess that would depend on the scenario. So if it were just cold outside and it weren't rainy or wet or snowy and wet or icy and wet, then I would probably go for the knit gloves because they're a lot more flexible than the leather ones are. But if I know I'm going to be outside or driving where I need some grip and I don't want them to get sopping wet and then make my fingers cold, I would choose the leather or pleather type gloves. And if any of you want to jump in and let me know what you would do, like if you don't want to do the tag, if you don't have your own channel, but you want to chime in as to, like whether you like hot chocolate or hot cider better, please feel free to do so because then we can get a discussion going. I should have said that at the beginning. I didn't do that. Number 5, ice skating versus sledding. Oh, I think both are fun. Um, I did grow up not too far from an ice rink when I lived in Northern California. So I did learn how to ice skate when I was about 8 or 9 years old. And then my husband grew up about half the time in Colorado and about half the time in Germany. He was an army brat. He grew up knowing how to ice skate. So that's one of the activities that we've always liked to do as a family is go ice skating. And we actually live about 10 minutes from an ice rink right now. So we always got my husband and I both have our own pair of skates, and our younger daughter didn't do ice skating lessons, but our older daughter took ice skating lessons when she was little. So we used to go ice skating quite a bit as a family activity. And sledding, I've only sledded as an adult with my children. I've never actually sledded as a child. Kim, have you gone ice skating before? Oh, did you ever roller skate? Because if you've roller skated, you usually have a much better sense of. It's a lot easier to learn how to ice skate if you've roller skated. So I had started out roller skating when I was about 5, and then I learned how to ice skate when I was about 8 or 9. And it's a different sensation because you sort of have to pick up your foot and then let it slide along the ice. But and it's a lot easier to turn and maneuver on the ice than it is on roller skates or rollerblades. But if you roller skate, it's usually a lot easier. Yeah, then you would it would just take you a little bit of time to get used to the sensation of the ice. Since I don't go that often anymore, I usually have to skate around the rink about 2 or 3 times before I feel comfortable again skating. And I was actually thinking of trying to go skating with my husband and my daughters while everyone has their vacation right now, but I don't know if we're gonna do that or not. Um, so the next question is chili versus soup. I think overall I would have to go with soup, just because the only type of chili I can eat is chili with no beans and no like green peppers in it. Oh, yes, Kim, then you would definitely be able to do ice skating because if you can go backwards and you've learned to turn and do that on roller skates, doing it on ice skates is so much easier. You wouldn't believe. And you just kind of have to like swish your body back and forth and you're able to skate backwards fairly easily as long as you can keep your balance. So, if you have access to an ice skating rink anywhere, you might try it sometime. I think you'd enjoy it. But it does get cold. Oh yeah, they didn't have it didn't snow or get icy where I was, but we did have both roller rinks and ice skating rinks, and I really the the thing about the either one of those is that you have to make sure that you have skates that aren't broken. If you know what I mean, you want to make sure that the area around the ankle that supports your ankle isn't broken on the skate and that you're getting enough support on your ankle area. So if you're and that you've actually got the area around your ankle tied tightly enough because it's a little bit harder to balance initially on the ice skate than it is on the roller skate. But I I think the main reason people have trouble with the ice skating is that they keep the skate too loose right around where their ankle area is, or the ankle supports are broken, so it's flexible where the skate is. It should be very stiff, the boot part. And then the other thing is the rental skates tend not to be kept sharp. And so they don't grip the ice very well. It it's sort of counterintuitive that you want a really sharp blade because your people get worried about getting cut on the blade. But really, if your blade is dull on the ice skates, then the skate's just sitting sort of on top of the ice, or even it can even hydroplane on ice melt on the rink instead of having a somewhat sharp edge that can bite into the ice. So I always tell people, if I go skating with them and I notice their ankles are going in or out, they either don't have their skates laced tightly enough or the skate's broken. And then if they're still having trouble, then I'll look at the blade and I know how to do this, but if I run my finger along the edge and it feels too dull, it means the skate's not gripping the ice enough, and it's really a lot harder to skate like that. You wouldn't think it would make that much difference, but it really does. So if you do decide to try it out, um, oh yeah, I always like to watch that too. If you do decide to try it out, then watch out for those things. I don't know, Kim, did you ever see this one pair skating couple that they were husband and wife and they had red hair? The I think they were pairs. I don't think they were ice dancing. Um, Todd Mino and Jenny Sands, I think their names are. They actually are coaches now, and they train at the ice rink. They train new skaters at the ice rink where I live. So sometimes we see them there skating. So that's kind of fun. Um, okay, so ice skating versus sledding. Number 6, chili versus soup. Oh, that's what I was on. I said I'd have to say soup because the only kind of chili I can eat are the kind that it doesn't have any green peppers in it. I don't like the taste of those, and it doesn't have beans. If it's chili without beans, I can tolerate it, but chili with beans, no. Number 7, indoors cozy versus outdoors cozy. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, a lot of people do that the first time, and then they hate skating, and they think, why do anybody like this? It's really hard. My feet hurt, and it's because they don't their skates are not good, and a lot of ice skating rinks don't replace their skates frequently enough. You will find some skates now use these plasticized skates, and those are a little better because they don't tend to break the boot as easily. So they have the normal leather boot, but the outside's been plasticized, and they're bright colors so that people won't try to steal them and use them as their own skates. Um, but I going back to the question, I do prefer indoor cozy. I get cold, too cold outside. Um, a lot of the time was when we're in the mountains, so I like to layer. But um, I like both. I like going outdoors. I'm not a real outdoorsy person, but I do love being surrounded by nature. So I was actually out of town the last couple of days over New Year's. My One of my brothers has a house up in the local mountains, and so I like going up there, seeing the trees. There was a little bit of snow still left on the sides of the road where the plows had come through, so it looked a little bit of white on the ground, and then it lightly snowed. Actually, New Year's Eve. Just squirrels. I only saw squirrels. Um, my brother has seen a bear come near their property, and they do get bobcats coming around and coyotes. But I get those actually at my house where I live because our house backs up to a regional park, even though we're closer to the coastline. So we get the coyotes and bobcats right behind our fence. We even had them come in our yards a few times, along with rattlesnakes and other wild animals. But we don't get bears where I am. But they have seen the small black bears. Yeah, so you just have to keep an eye out and make sure that you're aware of your surroundings when you're there. I have never seen any when we've been up there, but I definitely would stay close to the houses on the street. I wouldn't go wandering off into the woodsy parts if it were darker. Maybe, probably not even during the day. But it's only about a 2 hour drive from my house up to those mountains. Even less than that when there's no traffic. So my brother's nice enough. They usually invite us up over New Year's and we spend it there. I prefer to spend my time indoors by their nice fireplace rather than going outside. But sometimes, it's nice to get outside, walk around, see if it has snowed, see the snow on the trees and stuff, and then come back in and have some hot chocolate, or sometimes I make mulled wine um, in the crock pot, and then gets you nice and cozy. So, Kim, I forget, where do you live? Are you near where it snows? I know you've told Lori. Oh, okay. I have never been to Alabama. I've never been in that part of the South. I have been to Florida, and but I've never gone. I've been to Texas, but I've never been to any of the states in between there. And I went to North Carolina only once. My younger daughter. Oh, you're from Florida. Okay. My younger daughter was, I mentioned this before, she was trained to be a ballet dancer, and the American Ballet Theater puts on summer camps for promising young dancers. And so she was back at the University of North Carolina, which has a big ballet program, and for 4 weeks, did a summer training program with ABT. And so I flew back there to see their last performance. Was really beautiful, but it was so hot and humid. But you're probably used to that since you're from Florida originally. I have been to Orlando. Um, oh, thank you. Yeah, it was her, not me. But then she got hurt while she was still growing, and it was causing some knee pain that she just couldn't overcome, so she had to stop dancing. Um, but it was very beautiful, again, hot and humid, and but for me, been to Orlando, both taking my daughters to Disney World, but also I used to have to go there on business trips sometimes, mostly big conventions. And then one of the companies I worked for had an office in Clearwater, so I used to have to go to Tampa and, drive over to Clearwater and go to that office. But other than that, I haven't really seen much of the state at all there. Did did you live near Orlando or Tampa, or were you more towards the south or the Panhandle area? I must have missed that. I'll catch it again. Um, okay. The eighth question. Oh, Fort Pierce. I was. Oh, okay. All right. I'll have to look up where that was, where that is. I love to travel, so I, I someday I hope to get down to see those other states that I haven't been to in the South. Number eight is earmuffs versus a hat. I've never actually worn earmuffs. When I was little, I really wanted a pair of earmuffs. I thought that would be so cool. And one of those muffs, those things that hang around your neck and you can put your hands in, I thought that would be so much fun to have earmuffs and a muff. Um, but I always either had a hood on my jacket or a hat. And I didn't like the hats because my hair would always stick to them, and I had really long hair when I was growing up. But I think that if you don't need the hat to keep your head warm, that the earmuffs would be something I would still like better than a hat. Have any of you worn earmuffs before? If so, how did you like them? I'm just curious because if I see any around, maybe I'll get myself a pair to take up to the mountains next time and try those out. Oh, well, that's good to know because I just feel like for me, my head doesn't get that cold. So unless it's really, really cold outside, I think I like the earmuffs better. But my ears do get cold. So let me see if I can find some sometime. I know, I think it might have been a couple years ago, some people were finding earmuffs in their Target dollar spot, but I never saw any in mine. So I would have gotten some then if I had seen them. So the next question is s'mores versus marshmallows. Well, I would probably just say plain marshmallows in the winter time because the only time I ever really made s'mores growing up was when we would be at summer campfire picnics or my daughters were in Girl Scouts, so if we went out camping with the Girl Scouts, of course we had to make s'mores. Um, but when I was little growing up, we almost always had the little miniature marshmallows and we would put those in our hot chocolate. So I would, and I really like to drink hot chocolate a lot better than I like to eat s'mores. So, but I do like toasting marshmallows. So I love it when they get just a tiny bit burnt on the outside. However, I don't do that too much anymore since if you've seen some of my videos, I am trying to eat more low carb. And unless I make my own marshmallows, I'm not going to find low carb marshmallows. Number 10, we were talking about this before, Winter Olympics versus Super Bowl. Well, I love watching the Winter Olympics because I love watching ice skating. I also like watching the ski jumping. I would be petrified to ski jump. I have been up close near a ski jump and seen how steep those hills are, but I really like seeing them fly through the air. And what else? What other things do I like to watch in the wintertime that are? I like to watch the bobsled and the luge, and I'm always glad when they don't get in an accident, but I like to see how they control their sleds through the those tracks. It just amazes me. I think I like the Winter Olympics better than the Summer Olympics. And Super Bowl. Well, for many years, I wasn't at home when the Super Bowl was being played because I was in commercial lending and commercial real estate. And we always had a big convention. That's the one that would alternate between Orlando and San Diego. And so I was always away on Super Bowl Sunday. And so my company would have a big dinner party of all the employees that were at the conference, and we would rent a room in a restaurant, and we would all socialize and watch the Super Bowl together. So that was kind of fun. And sometimes we do a little pool of who we thought was going to win, and what the score would be at the end of each of the quarters. I never won any of them, but it was a fun thing to do with my colleagues. But I would definitely say the Winter Olympics. How about you guys? Do do you like the Super Bowl better or Winter Olympics better? The other thing with the Olympics is that it's not just one day. I know you have the playoffs for the football, but it's not like it's all leading up to one big event. So the Olympics go over like 2 or 2.5 weeks, something like that. So there's always something going on to watch. So that's also another reason I think I like them too, because you can pick and choose the things you like to watch. So that's it for the 10 questions. Yeah. I have fun watching the Super Bowl now with my husband. Um, I know the basic rules of football, so he's but he's not one of those men that you have to watch every single game and no one can talk while the game's on because you have to hear every word the commentator says. So we often will turn the sound off and just watch the game. um, but another thing we used to do, because we live pretty close to Disneyland, we're about half an hour south of Disneyland, is that it used to not be crowded at all on Super Bowl Sunday. So if I was home when the Super Bowl was being played, sometimes we would just go up and go to Disneyland on Super Bowl Sunday and record the game, and then he and I would watch it together without, turning on the radio or the news or anything, so we didn't know who had won. But I must say, for like the last 10 years or so, no matter what time of year you go to Disneyland, it's crowded. So those sorts of things don't work anymore. Thanksgiving Day used to be a good day. Christmas Day was not a good day because a lot of people did come from out of town to go to Disneyland at Christmas time, but Thanksgiving was more local people, so it usually wasn't that busy. So if we had relatives coming in from out of town who wanted to go to Disneyland, we'd usually go on Thanksgiving, and then we'd have our Thanksgiving dinner the day after Thanksgiving. That way we could see more and do more with them at Disneyland. So, but even that doesn't seem to work anymore. The last time we went, it was it was what supposedly the off season, and it was just as crowded as I've ever seen it on a summer day. So I haven't been probably in 2 or 3 years now. It's also gotten very expensive. We used to get passes when our daughters were little, and if you went 3 times, that pass would pay for itself. And so you didn't feel bad if you couldn't see everything you wanted to in one day because you could always come back. But the passes have gotten so, so expensive. I don't know if Disney World's the same way, but Disneyland is definitely that way. But yes, that can happen. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Particularly the more crowded it gets, the ruder people seem to get. I've noticed that. Um, but and the other thing that happens is people use their strollers with little tiny babies in them, sort of like battering rams. So they will purposely like bang into people with their strollers to make a path for themselves. And then they think that if they purposely bump into you, if they say, "Excuse me," that makes it okay that they purposely bumped into you. So I don't understand that mentality either. It's like, no, "excuse me" is supposed to be when you do something accidentally, not when you've got this thing out in front of you. And then we don't get the motorized scooters so much here, but I noticed the last time I was at Disney World, a lot of people were riding around on the motorized scooters, and they were doing the same things with those. They would be driving them, full speed through these crowds, trying to use them as battering rams. Not not nice at all. Like nothing's that important that you have to bowl people over to uh, to get there. You'll get there eventually, and everyone would be a lot safer if you would just, be a little more calm. So, so if there is anyone on who wants to do this tag, let me know that you've done it, and I will definitely come and watch your video. And the only other thing I wanted to do, I thought I'd tell you my take on resolutions versus goals. When I was a little girl, I asked my mother if she ever made New Year's resolutions, and she said she used to, but like most people, she would find herself not keeping them. And so she said, "I made one final resolution, and that was not to make any New Year's resolutions, and that's the only one I have been able to stick to." And I thought that was so funny, but also very appropriate. So when I was little, I decided that was going to be my mantra too. I wasn't going to make a New Year's resolution. It seemed like it was more of a chore to me, like I'm resolved to do this, you know, I resolved to do that. And then if you don't do them, you don't do them either, Kim. Yeah, it makes you feel bad if you don't stick to them. So I would rather do like goal planning because then it's like I something you're looking to achieve that is positive rather than something that you're resolving not to do, which is negative. So that's how I look at it. And so, like last year at this time, I was still working. Um, I had a very stressful job, and uh, my husband and I'd actually done some goal planning together. We had, I have always had a much more stressful job than he has, and when we first got married, he was a genetic researcher, and he did genetic testing and research. And I was just starting out. I had just gotten my MBA and was starting out. And after we had children, we found that we were both working really, really, really long hours, and we were hardly ever seeing our older daughter. And we decided that one of us needed to spend more time taking care of our daughter, interacting with our daughter. And it was a lot easier for him to go to school. Yeah, I totally agree. So his salary was a lot closer to what a teacher would make than mine was. And so we decided he also was able to go back to school without needing to take too many extra classes. He had to take two classes um, so that he could teach at the high school level. But he decided to go back to school and become a high school teacher. And so he did that when my older daughter, he started when she was about 4. and became a high school science and math teacher. And that way one of us was more available for our daughter, like during the summers and after school, to take them to activities and that sort of thing. So the deal was that once we got our children through school, once we had all their college paid for, and that we felt like we were in pretty good shape for retirement, that I could do something else. So right now, this is my something else. And I was working full time up until last January. So I'm almost at the point of being what I call semi retired for a year now, because I'm not old enough to take and get any retirement income. So we are living off of my husband's income right now. Yeah, it was a long-term plan, definitely. But that's what I'm talking about, having a goal rather than a resolution. So, I knew that each year we got closer to that time frame that I would be able to stop my stressful job. And towards the end, I had worked for a few different companies, and every time it would start out, it wouldn't be that stressful, but then I would just get more and more and more stuff piled onto me. And I could literally feel it taking a toll on my health. I did not feel healthy at all. And so, around the summer of 2017, I, I said to him, we have all the money we need to get our younger daughter through college. Would it be okay with you if I leave at the end of the year? And I had to stay through the end of the year because of some vesting issues with things where I was working. And so I ended up taking a week's vacation between, actually it was right after New Year's through the first week of January, because my husband had that week off from teaching. And when I went back to work, then I gave my 2 weeks notice. So I think I left about January 19th last year. And I was just going to take some time off, and I had been toying around with doing a YouTube channel. So last year, one of my goals was to see if I could get a video up and posted on YouTube by the end of March. I wanted to give it a couple times. Yeah, thank you. It's just I recommend to anybody who's under a lot of stress, it's try to work out a plan to get yourself out of that situation. I feel so much healthier now than I have in probably 15 years. I started trying to get healthy a couple years ago. So my goals a couple years ago were to try to get some form of exercise. So I started to do yoga videos with Yoga with Adriene on YouTube here. And the reason I chose yoga is I thought it would be something I could do in my home, and I could do more of the stretching relaxation type videos if I wanted to, or I could do more of the power yoga if I wanted to build strength. But I felt it would also be good for my mental state given the stress. So that I had managed to start before I went into semi-retirement. So my goal was to be able to do more of that once I stopped working, which I've been trying to do all the last couple of weeks with the holidays. I haven't kept it up much. Hi, Immortal Hourglass. How are you today? We actually were just kind of finishing up. I'd gone through a winter tag video. There were 10 questions. So if you want to watch it later, you can go back. Yeah. Yes, Kim, I agree. Yeah, it is. Sounds like you have a very healthy outlook on life. So now I was just talking about why I don't do resolutions and why I'd rather do goal planning. and it seems more positive to me. And then I feel like I've achieved something rather than if I break a resolution, then I makes me feel bad about myself. So, Kim, that's one reason I I love my husband. I'm not a naturally funny person, but I do really appreciate laughter and humor. And my husband really makes me laugh and joke all the time. So, me not being naturally funny and him being naturally funny, it is good for me. Because I have, when I was little, I really tended to take myself too seriously. That was one thing I had to work on throughout my life, was not to take myself too seriously and learn to laugh at myself. So I'm much, much better about that now than I was when I was younger. But so happy New Year to you. Immortal Hourglass. What's your name? I can't remember. I have such a bad memory for names now. I used to have a really good memory, but now that I'm older, I just Dia. Oh, like day, right? Dia. Thank you. I'm looking over because I have my iPad off to the side, so if your comments pop up and then I don't see them, I can I can try to look over and find them again. So, yeah, I think everybody needs something comedy or prayer or something. Oh, I'm glad you enjoyed it, Kim. I'm glad it worked. It was easier than I thought it was going to be. So I maybe I'll try doing more of these at some point. And I really, oh, thank you. Thank you for being so encouraging. When I started out doing YouTube, I thought, okay, so my first goal was just to get a video posted by the end of March, which I did. Okay, I will. I will. Um, so I was going to do one video by the end of March. And then, okay, so I did get my video up by the end of March. And then I was like, okay, I'll see if I can get to 100 subscribers. And if it's not too much work and not too stressful, then I'll keep going. And what I did, I had done research and I looked for other channels similar to mine that had open challenges going on. And I just was only really participating in video open challenges, and I started getting some subscribers that way, and I was really happy. It you know I thought it was going to be a lot harder to get to 100 than it was. So then my next one was, well, okay, maybe I can get to 500 by the end of the year, and I actually got to over 600. So I was ahead of where I wanted to be by the year end. So those were my goals. That was all I had set. And thanks to those of you who are on right now, you helped me get there. So I really, really appreciate it. And I really enjoy all the interaction that I've been able to have with people because I never expected that. I really didn't. Oh, thank you. So I met so many wonderful people, and I was really worried about people, getting more negatives, and because I'd heard so many horror stories. But everyone has been so nice and welcoming, even people who have much larger channels than mine. So I really appreciate all the other YouTubers who have opened challenges up because that's really how I was able to grow my channel. I think when maybe some other people have been struggling, um, and I now that I'm home more, I don't really get a lot of face-to-face interaction with people, so that was such an added benefit. And I've met people around the world, so and I chat with them on love. Like Bella, I was just saying, hi Bella, how it's been so wonderful being on YouTube the past 9 months or so because I've met so many people. And Bella's up in Canada right now, and I met Yanni from the Netherlands, and Shell of Shell's Glam Home. She's she's down under, and she had some struggles recently, and but she's back on. And I've just met so many wonderful people all over the place, and I absolutely love to travel to different places, but that's obviously very expensive. So when I get to watch people who live in other areas from me, I just love it because then I get to see some of where they are without having to fly there myself. So happy New Year, Bella. And Bella looked like she was down from down in Florida over the holidays. I haven't really been on um, YouTube that much because my brother's house in the mountains, it does have Wi-Fi, but he has limited data, so I didn't really want to do a lot of video streaming. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You were down in Florida. I have gone to Florida, to Orlando, to the Disney parks for Christmas and New Year's before. It was a lot of fun. We did that, I think, once or twice when my daughters were growing up. Once when my younger daughter was about 8 months old, and then I think we went again when she was about 5 years old. Both of those times were at Christmas, and then we went once during spring break. But looks like you had a lot of fun. So, Bill, I was just about to sign off because I've been on almost an hour now, and I went over winter tag. If you're just joining, there were 10 questions, so anybody who's watching, you're tagged. And I was discussing my thoughts on New Year's resolutions versus goals, and then we were just having a little bit of other chit chat. So, and it was my first live, and I was just trying it out to see how it went. So I'm glad you thought it was okay, Kim. Thank you for the encouraging words. I really appreciate it, and I will try to do more in the future now that I have done one and seen that it's not as difficult as I thought it would be. So I think I'm going to sign off now. I hope that all of you have a great evening and that your new year is off to a wonderful start, and that everyone that is in your household or your extended family, they're all happy and healthy. Oh, thank you, Kim. Bye bye, everyone. I'm going to stop now if I can figure out how to do that. Take care, and I will try to do more of these. Bye. Bye, Dia.